Hello, grandkids. It's Evie. I'm sitting up here in the playroom, and it is so quiet because there are no grandchildren up here playing. I miss y'all, and I wish you were here, but since we can't be together for a few weeks, I thought I could read you a story. Now, this story is actually a fairy tale written a long, long time ago by the Grimm brothers. And this story was one of my favorite when I was a little girl. My sister, Aunt Angie, I would take this story to her and have her read it to me. I don't know why I liked it, but I really did, so I thought I would read it to you. Okay? Now here's the name of it, and maybe you've heard this story before, but it's called Rumpelstiltskin. Now that is hard to say. You have to practice it. Rumple, stilt, skin. Can you say that? Very good. Okay, I'm going to start reading now, so sit down. Put your hands to yourself. Put your listening ears on. And here we go. I'll show you the picture after I read the page. There once lived a miller. You know what a miller is? It's a working man. He made hats or something. There once lived a miller who was so proud of his daughter's beauty that he wanted to tell everybody about it. One day, the miller saw the king and his men out hunting in the forest. So here's a picture of the miller. Okay. Now the king was young and handsome, and the miller told him about his beautiful daughter. "Sire," he said, bowing low, "I have a daughter. Not only is she beautiful, she can also spin straw into gold." "Bring her to me at once," said the king, for though he was a king, he was not very rich, and he needed gold. The king was delighted when he saw the miller's daughter was indeed very beautiful. But he remembered what the miller had said, and he wanted her to spin a room full of straw into gold. All right, so here's the miller talking to the king, and here's his beautiful daughter. The king took the miller and the girl to his castle beyond the forest. When they arrived, the miller's daughter was locked in a castle room. The boastful miller was to be held a prisoner until the king had all the gold he needed. He probably didn't count on that. The miller's daughter saw that her room contained nothing but a chair, a spinning wheel, and a pile of straw. "You have until morning to spin this straw into gold," said the king. The miller's daughter had never in her life spun straw into gold, nor did she know how it was done. She looked at the straw, and she looked at the spinning wheel, and she thought of her father, and she burst into tears. There's the castle. Here's the spinning wheel. I'd be upset too. "Why do you weep, Mistress Miller?" said a voice. The girl saw a tiny little man. Ugly he was, but with a twinkle in his eye, and the girl told him of her plight. Said the little man, "spin straw into gold. What will you give me if I do it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl at once. It was the most precious thing she owned. Then whir, the little man started the spinning wheel, and whir, it went all night, spinning the straw into precious gold. So here's the little man and the girl at the spinning wheel. By morning, what do you think? Every piece of straw had been spun into golden coins, and the magical man had disappeared. The king was so delighted when he saw all the gold that he decided he must have more. That's called greed. Guards, fill the room with twice as much straw as before. The girl will spend me twice as much gold. Once again, the miller's daughter sat alone in the locked room and looked at the huge piles of straw. Once again, the girl burst into tears. And once again, the little man appeared to help the miller's daughter. She gave him her ring, and whir, he spun the straw into precious gold. Ho, 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 said the king the next morning. If you will spin me one more cartload of gold, you shall be my wife, which would make her a queen. See? Think she can do it with some help? Now the girl was very pleased that the king wanted to marry her, but how could she pay the little man this time? I have nothing left to give, she wailed when the little man appeared. And the little man said, if you will promise to give me your first child, I will do it for you. The poor girl agreed. And whir, the little man started the spinning wheel, and whir, it went all night, spinning the straw into precious gold. As the little man cleared away one pile of straw, he would replace it with a pile of gold. The miller's daughter grew quite dizzy watching the little man run quickly back and forth with straw and gold. Her eyes were dazzled when all the straw was spun away and all that remained was pot after pot of shining gold. See there? Okay. The king was overcome with delight when he saw the gold gleaming in the morning light and the miller's daughter beside it, even more beautiful than the gold. Well, how about that? He ordered the marriage ceremony to begin at once and the miller to be set free. And that is how the miller's daughter became a queen. Now, in a year's time, the young queen gave birth to a beautiful baby daughter. And here they are getting married and everybody feasting. Okay? All the people in the land rejoiced when they heard of the birth of a princess. There was singing and dancing in the streets, and all the houses were covered with flowers and flags. But no one was more pleased than the happy king and his queen. One day, as the queen sat holding her baby, she heard a chuckle behind her. She turned and saw the same little man who had helped her spin the straw into gold. I have come for your baby, he said. You promised that you would give her to me. Remember that promise she made? Oh, how the queen wept and pleaded with the little man. She offered him money and costly jewels and a splendid position at court, but he shook his head. No, a baby is far more precious than any of these things. Now that is true. But, he said, I will give you a chance. Tell me within 3 days what my name is. If you can guess right, you shall keep the baby and never see me again. And with that, he disappeared. The next day he was back again, and the queen said all the names that she could think of. Jack, Bubba, Michael, everything she could think of. But the little man just shook his head and went away chuckling. The next day the queen sent messengers to the village to find the names of all the people there. She said them to the little man when he came, but the little man shook his head and went away chuckling. Now, on the 3rd day, one of the messengers came to the queen and said, I came to a high mountain at the end of the forest, and there I saw a little house. Before the house, a fire was burning, and round about the fire, a little man was jumping. An ugly little man he was, but with a twinkle in his eye, and he was saying these words: "Today I brew, tomorrow I bake, the next day the queen's child I take. For the queen can never guess my fame, that Rumpelstiltskin is my name." As soon as the queen heard these words, she knew that she was saved. She rewarded the messenger handsomely and sat down to await the little man, her baby on her knee. See the messenger watching Rumpelstiltskin there? Good thing he came along, right? The little man appeared, and the queen began to say more names to him: Harry, Perry, William Z., Morrissey, Peterkin, Hopewell, Jonas. But it was none of these, as the queen well knew, and the little man held out his arms for the baby. The queen began to rock her baby to and fro. Then she said, "Why, then perhaps your name is, could it be, I think it must be Rumpelstiltskin." Oh, how angry the little man was. "Someone told you! Someone has told you!" he screamed in a rage. He tore at his hair and he jumped and he groaned, and then he started to stamp his feet in a very, very angry way. And do you know, he stamped so hard that he stamped himself right through the floor. And he has not been seen again from that day to this. Now look at that. Isn't he a sight? He stamped right in. So, the king and the queen and their little daughter, and of course the miller too, all lived happily ever after. Now, I hope you liked that story. Papa and I love y'all, and we hope to see you soon. Y'all be good and stay clean.
This is a Papa and Evie production.